Hello, Lions faithful. Welcome back to Lions News Fan Report, where we roar through the latest and most electrifying Detroit Lions updates every single day. I'm your name, and today we're diving headfirst into a blockbuster offseason rumor that's got Motor City buzzing. Could cornerback Amik Robertson be on the chopping block? Just when it seemed Detroit's secondary couldn't get any more crowded, the Lions front office went all in this offseason, adding DJ Reed, Rock Ya-Sin, and re-signing Avonte Maddox alongside rising stars Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw. With 3 new faces and 2 homegrown talents slated for big roles, veteran slot corner Amik Robertson suddenly finds himself fighting for snaps, and possibly his future in Honolulu Blue. Robertson, 25, earned a solid 57% snap share in 2024, allowing a 61.4% completion rate and just 7.2 yards per target, while logging 8 pass breakups, 50 tackles, including 4 for loss, and 3 forced fumbles. On paper, those numbers scream reliable rotational piece. Yet, with free agency additions and depth chart shifts, some insiders believe Robertson's stock has dipped enough to make him a trade candidate, or worse, a cap casualty. Could this be the beginning of a youth movement in Detroit's backfield? From all accounts, the Lions love what Rakestraw brings in press coverage, and Maddox in the slot is no stranger to big plays. Throw in DJ Reed's ball-hawking reputation and Ya-Sin's length on the outside, and suddenly Amik's $6.4 million cap hit for 2025 looks like an asset that could be better used elsewhere. SpotTrack pegs the potential savings at $4.2 million if he's moved, money that could land another draft pick or help shore up the defensive line. Anthony Rizzuto of The Wire recently named Robertson as a possible target for the Carolina Panthers, a team desperate to boost its backfield speed and versatility. Panthers fans are already buzzing. Could Detroit unload Robertson to Charlotte in exchange for mid-round draft capital? Some Panthers beat writers are whispering that general manager Scott Fitterer might be willing to pull the trigger on a deal if Robertson passes his physical and film study checks out, which, by all reports, it does. Fans are wondering if this is the final chapter of Robertson's Lions tenure. Is it possible that a player who once seemed destined for a long-term role in Detroit is now expendable? Could this move pave the way for Arnold and Rakestraw to step into spotlight roles, or will Detroit pivot and keep Robertson as the veteran presence in nickel packages? Speculation is rampant on social media, with some analysts raising eyebrows at the idea of parting ways with a defender who finished 2024 with more tackles than any other Detroit corner. Adding fuel to the fire, word on the street is that head coach Dan Campbell and defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn have been evaluating tape relentlessly, looking for any edge. Some insiders believe the final decision hinges on Robertson's performance at the upcoming mandatory minicamp. If he shows he can excel in off-man coverages and tackle in space, he might just claw back his role. But if those practice reps don't go his way, Detroit could cut bait before the July roster cuts, saving that $4.2 million for a more pressing need. Could the Lions actually release a player who played over half the defensive snaps last season? Some draft experts suggest that moving Robertson now would be a statement. This is Daniel Snyder's team, Dan Campbell's team, and nobody is safe. But other voices argue that Detroit should keep as much veteran depth as possible, especially with buys and injuries always lurking in the NFL. The rumor mill is churning, and one thing is clear: this story isn't going away anytime soon. But what do you think, Lions diehards? Will Detroit make the bold move to part ways with Amik Robertson, or will they hold on to their slot corner hero and find alternative ways to manage the cap? Stick around, because in our next segment we'll break down potential trade packages, explore Carolina's cap space, and reveal reactions from players and insiders that you won't want to miss. If you haven't already, hit that like button and subscribe to Lions News Fan Report so you never miss an insider update. Now, let's dive straight into what could be next for Amik Robertson and the Detroit secondary. Some insiders believe the Panthers might sweeten their offer by including a late-round draft pick plus a conditional swap, if Robertson logs over 40 defensive snaps next season. Carolina sends an extra 2026 sixth-rounder to Detroit. Could that be enough to convince the Lions brass? Remember, General Manager Brad Holmes has shown a willingness to flip veterans for draft capital in past deals. And with a rebuilding offensive line looming, that extra pick might be more valuable than Robertson's veteran savvy. Let's break down the pros and cons. On one hand, flipping Robertson frees up $4.2 million in cap space, money that could be reallocated toward re-signing a versatile edge rusher or even funding a surprise free agent splurge. On the flip side, losing Robertson's physical slot coverage and 3 forced fumbles from 2024 leaves a clear gap. Rakestraw and Maddox will be leaned on heavily, and if either struggles with press leverage or tackling in space, the secondary could become a liability. After all, Detroit's 2024 defense often hinged on tight coverage shells that forced turnovers. Robertson played a key role in that scheme. Could this rumor be a negotiating tactic? Some league executives whisper that Detroit might be gauging Robertson's trade value before broaching an extension conversation. Remember, Robertson is under contract through 2026, but at a team-friendly rate only if Detroit picks up his fifth-year option in 2025. If the Lions simply let that option slip, they could cut him after the 2025 season with minimal dead money. That pressure point could convince Robertson's camp to agree to a modest pay cut, keeping him in Detroit while still clearing some salary cap relief. Some insiders believe that's the most likely outcome, one front office source told us. But what if Robertson pushes back? He could play out the season, earn that fifth-year option, and then test the open market in 2026 as a coveted slot corner. Teams like the Ravens, Browns, or Chargers, units that struggled to cover the slot last year, might throw significant money his way. Could Detroit risk that scenario by trading him now for mid-round capital? Or will they hold on to him, hoping he appreciates in value after another strong campaign? Fans are speculating on social media. One popular theory: Robertson lands in Carolina, reunites with former defensive backs coach Chris Richard, and blossoms in a new scheme, earning Pro Bowl votes in 2026. Another camp argues that Detroit will never part with such a fiery competitor, especially under Dan Campbell's never-say-die culture. After all, Campbell has repeatedly praised Robertson's professionalism and grit. Cutting him loose would send a mixed message to the locker room. Could this trade rumor be the beginning of a larger roster shakeup? If Detroit dispatches Robertson, would they pair that move by dealing another veteran, perhaps a defensive lineman like Julian Okwara, for additional picks? And might they pivot and draft a slot corner in round 3, banking on youth and cost certainty? Some draft analysts are already projecting LSU's Elias Ricks or Maryland's Darnay Holmes as potential Detroit targets if they truly commit to a youth movement. As the mandatory minicamp approaches, all eyes will be on Robertson. Can he stand out in press drills, flash elite recovery speed, and demonstrate that veteran polish in zone rotations? If he does, the Lions might quietly shelve trade talks and head into training camp with 5 cornerbacks competing for 2 starting spots. An enviable luxury. But if Robertson struggles to find his stride, that $4.2 million savings will become too tempting to ignore. In the end, this isn't just about salary caps and schematics, it's about identity. Will the Lions double down on proven veterans to chase a playoff berth, or will they roll the dice on youth and cap flexibility? This rumor, whether ultimately acted on or not, sends a clear message. No roster spot is guaranteed. And that level of accountability could be the spark that drives this defense to new heights, or the move that leaves fans wondering, what if, for seasons to come? So, Lions fans, here's the big question. Do you think Detroit should pull The trigger and trade Amik Robertson to Carolina for mid-round draft capital? Or should they keep their veteran cornerback, embrace a crowded secondary, and focus on keeping that championship window open? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I can't wait to read your take. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to Lions News Fan Report, and ring the bell so you're first to hear the latest rumors and news. Until next time, keep the faith and keep roaring.